Oi boys, welcome to another video on the channel. We are back with some round 4 tips and predictions for the NRL season. Now last week we got 4 from 8 and that brings us to a total of 14 from 24 for the season so far. Not great, not bad though. Let's jump into this week's games. So to kick off the round, we have the Parramatta Eels taking on the Penrith Panthers at CommBank Stadium, a grand final rematch. The Panthers heading into this one rejuvenated, coming off a bye. As for the Eels, losing to the Sea Eagles by 4. Now, the Eels, their defense this season has been pretty tragic. In these opening rounds, they've leaked close to 70 points. I know they love to get up for these games against the Panthers, especially during the regular season, but I'm just not convinced in this head-to-head. The bench in particular, they're pretty weak in comparison. One thing they do have going for them, I guess, is that the Panthers have been struggling to find points. They're still adjusting, but yeah, it's not enough for me to tip the upset. I'm going to go with the Panthers here in a close one. For Game 2, we're back at Amy Park in back-to-back weeks for the Melbourne Storm and the West Tigers. So the Tigers, it's been a tough start to the season. What makes it even worse is that there was plenty of gas for this team heading into the new season because of their new recruits, and let's be honest, they've been a rough watch this year. I say all that to say that this game was a 50-50 for me. Obviously, prior to Cameron Munster being named, I was waiting on team lists to make a decision. Yeah, the Storm haven't been great either. They've been shocking defensively, and I'm not surprised. We called that they'd be leaking plenty of points this year, and it's played out that way, unfortunately. In terms of ins and outs, like I said, Cam Munster's back, and Jerome Hughes has been suspended. As for the Tigers, they've made some adjustments. Adam Dwyer, been named at fullback. Asu Kapawa back in the centers. I really rate that change. I think he's a gun. Brandon Wakeham in the 6. Ice Pabili'i in the back row, and Dane Laurie to the bench. But yeah, like looking at this team on paper in comparison to the Storm, I'd be tempted to take the Tigers, but they've just been so awful these past few weeks. I can't justify tipping them. I mean, just look at that pack from 1 to 17. It's hectic on paper. But yeah, give me the Storm, give me Cam Munster, Harry Grant. It's one of those surely tips, like surely they won't lose back-to-back games at home. Stranger things have happened though, and this ain't the old Melbourne. And the main events for Friday Night Football, we have the Brisbane Broncos hosting the Redcliffe Dolphins. They're calling it the Battle for Brisbane, number 1 versus number 2. It's funny how that played out in their first meeting ever. So the Broncos pack, they've been impressive. They've beat, some would say, 2 of the best packs in the league to start the season in the Panthers and Cowboys. And now they come up against another pretty solid forward pack. You know, they've quickly established themselves as grinders through the middle, this Redcliffe pack. But I think the Broncos will be too much to handle, especially with the current form of the 1 to 7. On the back of that rolling forward pack, if they're not overzealous like they were last week in possession, I think the Broncos get by quite comfortably. So yeah, I want to take the Broncos. By the way, if I say close one, I mean 1 to 12 and comfortably 13 plus. And a not so super Saturday, we have a double header instead of a triple. The first is a battle between the little brothers, North Queensland Cowboys and the Gold Coast Titans. Back at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, the Cowboys coming into this one, losing to the Warriors 26 points to 12, and the Titans getting it done in the Gold Coast against the Storm, 38 points to 34. A strange game that. So my tip for this game, I'm going to go with the North Queensland Cowboys back at home, looking to bounce back after that devastating loss last week. Like they got proper ran through. They will be missing Ruben Cotter. That's a massive outs for them, but I still think without Cotter, without Drinkwater, I think they'll be able to grind out a win. The attack probably won't be as potent. We saw it last week without Drinky. Yeah, I just think that they'll get back to their suffocating ways, pull the Titans into the deep end and grind out a win. I think it'll actually be a close one. And the final game for Saturday, we have the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. The Bunnies coming into this, losing the derby by 2 points, and the Sea Eagles barely getting by the Eels. The Bunnies, they can't take a break. Their middles, they're shattered once again. The outs, Jaume Sele, it's so unfortunate. Shaq Mitchell and Devita Totola. It's a tough game to pick. On one hand, you have Manly, who's looked pretty good, and they've got a few standout players like Haumole Olakawatu, Nala Paseka, who on his day can dominate a forward pack, as well as some backs like Dolu Gola, who's really starting to find his straps. Ruben Garrick, he's been classy to start the season. And of course that turbo factor, not to mention the finesse of Josh Schuster. There's a lot to like about Manly, but they do struggle against the elite teams. I will say that the Bunnies, once they get going, they're pretty hard to stop themselves. When they get in their groove, man, they've got one of the more mesmerizing playstyles in the league. So much fun to watch. Because they're still light in the middle, I'm going to take the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles, and I'm not at all confident in this pick, but I reckon they can get it done in a close one. And for Sunday football, we got a triple header. First up, the New Zealand Warriors host the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs at Mount Smart. This is their first home game of the season, official home game. Let's just kick it off. I'm going to go with the Warriors here. They will be without Mitch Barnett and Wade Egan, but they do have Jackson Ford coming back into the fold. He was outstanding his first few games. And Freddie Lussick will be donning the 9 jersey. That could change, but I do like that they've kept the bench intact. Wade Egan is such a huge loss. That's my only real worry. Is it enough for me to tip the Bulldogs though? Based off last week's performance from the Bulldogs, I'm going to say no. This is the new Warriors, you know, they've shown that they can hang for the whole 80 and bang it out with the best of them. I will say I am looking forward to how the coaches will be approaching this one. A bit of history between the two so they know, I guess, what to expect from each other. You know, Serraldo was praised by many, got all the hype, all the gas, and Andrew Webster's just flown under the radar. But here again, my pick is the Warriors, and we'll go 1-12. The second Sunday game, we got the Newcastle Knights hosting the Canberra Raiders. The Knights coming off that 36-20 loss at home. As for the Raiders, they grinded out a win against the Grain at home, beating the Sharkies 24 points to 20. So a couple big ins for both teams. We got, for the Raiders, Josh Papali'i coming back, and for the Knights, Jaden Brayley, Kurt Mann at lock, and they've got Frizzell in the reserves, so we could see him back as well. Stats aside and just going off previous performances, this is a coin flip pretty much. I'm going to go with the Raiders. They got Zach Wolford coming in for Danny Levy. He's looked good for them in the past. Tom Starling, the spark off the bench. Their forward pack will be able to grind out a win. We'll say that's Papali'i, Tapine. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders in the close one. And to wrap up round 4, we have the St. George Illawarra Dragons versus the Cronulla Sharks. This one a home game for the Dragons, and I'll be honest, it's another close game for me. The Dragons have looked pretty good. I mean, they were in that game with the Broncos for all of about 70 minutes until some freakish individual effort from Payne Haas broke the game wide open. Their young guns have a little bit of confidence in them. They're Tyrell Sloans, Jaden Sullivan. They should put up a good fight. Obviously the highlights, or the one to watch for me, is the Sevens. We get to witness yet another clash of the elites. Ben Hunt taking on the returning Nico Hines. Can Nico Hines steer this Cronulla Sharks to a victory on the road? I think he's proven to be that guy, if you will, and I'm going to back him and the Sharks to get it done. Alright, so my picks overall, we got the Panthers, the Storm, the Broncos, the Cowboys, the Sea Eagles, the Warriors, the Raiders, and the Sharks. That is my 8. Super dicey on a few of those, but yeah, we're going to wrap it up there. Let me know your thoughts, share your picks in the comment section down below. As always, don't forget to run and show that like button. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later.